You know, in life, some of us are always the lucky one. There can be 10 prizes, and maybe there's only 9 or 10 tickets. Somehow, the lucky person draws one ticket and wins 9 of the 10 prizes. It's the way life is. Some of us could literally trip and fall with a lottery ticket in our hand into a shredder just before we pick up our winnings and never be able to collect on those winnings. Others don't even enter the lottery and find one on the sidewalk blowing down the sidewalk, and it happens to be $1 million winner. Life is about luck, it's about fortune, but it's also about knowing the position you're at in life and how you can best manage it. Let me tell you what's going to be on top of everyone's mind the next 10 to 15 years. And it's not on top of everyone's mind, it's on top of the mind of very specific people. And that's called baby boomers. Now, when you talk about a baby boomer, you got to remember this is an age and an era of your parents and grandparents where the population exploded right after World War II. So the last year of baby boomers was 1964. They defined that as a group of individuals that were born as a result of post-war population increase, and everybody was having a great time, and the world finally stopped having wars. It's the largest population. It's like 77 million people are over the age of 62. I was born in 1964. I'll be 62 this month, and so I'm the last year. So when I go back to being lucky, it seems like I'm always last in line. The buffet's almost cleaned out. I try to tap the keg, it's almost empty, and so on. But as a 1964 birth, I realize I'm at the back end of 77 to 80 million people who are older than me. And what that means is they are going through Social Security, they're going through savings, they're going through taking cruises. This is a massive U.S. population that is going to reach the terminal end of their life and their economic participation in the economy. Now, I'm going to do a series on baby boomers, but I want to tell you why. When you think about the economic impact of baby boomers, of the 77 million baby boomers in the country, only 18 to 25 million have a net worth over $1 million. Okay, that's a lot. When you look at how much money those 18 to 25 million baby boomers have in retirement, it's between $500 and $900 billion, best estimate. Now, if I start thinking about the passing on and the terminal end to these baby boomers' lives, regardless of their income and net worth, we're going to have the largest transition of wealth in the history of the United States. They estimate it somewhere around like $42 trillion between their businesses, their stocks, their houses, all the assets they own. They're talking about a massive transfer of wealth. Here's the real gig. Baby boomers, if they have not planned correctly, are going to take 40 years of saving in their retirement, and they're going to give back 15 to 16 years of a 40-year career back in the way of taxes to the federal government, who's going to tax those retirement funds as they take them out and begin to utilize them once they've reached the mandatory withdrawal time frame. Now, this may go to any and all baby boomers, but this also goes to the children of baby boomers who are going to say, in order to properly maintain and preserve your net worth, properly maintain and preserve the retirement accounts your parents have built, to help them facilitate the transfer of wealth with minimal taxation, you got to get moving. Because just like my buffet analogy a while ago, if I'm sitting there looking at assets and I'm looking at opportunities and ways to invest my money inside of my retirement account, and yet I need to be able to pull that out at one day because of mandatory withdrawals, how am I going to get it out of that retirement account and not owe my tax rate, which could be anywhere from 25 to 40%, and maybe goes a lot higher as we see taxing on individuals with $1 million net worths and incomes higher and higher by certain states and by the federal government. I want to stay true to the point. When I think about a baby boomer population and the kind of wealth they're going to transfer, and I see the number of conversations I have with baby boomers who are wealthy, well above $1 million net worth, and the lack of knowledge they have in terms of how to get 40 years of saving out of their retirement into other assets and convert that after tax, it may be 5% of them have a clue how to do that. I see a fire, I see smoke, and I see flames, and I see an absolute mousetrap, a time frame that says from 1964, Troy, last year baby boomers, and before that, you have a mandatory withdrawal that's going to happen by the time you're like 72 years old. That's a 10-year squeeze. So think about 77 million people all squeezing into a deadline that says in the next 12 years, you're going to all have to take mandatory withdrawals. And you think about the transfer of $500 billion to $900 billion in today's value, trying to get out that door and try to pay as little taxes as possible and not work 16 of your 40-year career for the federal government by paying the taxes you owe that you could otherwise protect. I'm going to make sure that baby boomers are clearly aware of the tools that are available, the assets that are available, and I want to make you awake and aware of what's coming. It's a freight train. It's at full speed. It's traveling down the track at 60 miles an hour, lights on, straight in your direction. You're going to have to think about things like inflation, cost of living, insurance, healthcare, welfare, nursing homes, all the things that we all have to think about as we get older. And your children, who probably are now in their 40s or 50s, are going to think about, how do I protect my parents' savings and their retirement and all the money they've accumulated, they've worked their whole life for? It's not because I'm greedy and I want it. I got to help them preserve that. Or I might as well said, Mom and Dad, you should have quit working at 45 because you gave away 15, 16 years of your hard-earned income and growth in your portfolios to taxes because you didn't properly plan. So this is a next generation consideration and conversation. It is a current, absolute topic number one that should be talked about with anybody over the age or born before 1964. And this is a conversation that needs to start today, because that funnel with 77 million people, 18 to 25 million with a net worth over $1 million, heading toward that door of mandatory withdrawals and taking money out of your IRA, there's not enough assets. There's not enough opportunities. And the sharks, the crooks, the liars, the bad actors, the Ponzi schemes, they're just waiting because they know you'd much rather try an investment than give your money to federal income tax. They're waiting like sharks on the bank for you to swim by, unsuspecting, unaware, and having no clue how you can protect your own assets, not just from taxes, but from the sharks that are waiting for you to swim past them. I'm Troy Eckard. I want you to know this is a very important message going out to baby boomers, and I'll have subsequent videos and presentations about this topic, and hopefully you'll follow and give me input about what you think.